Frank Ocean has officially left Coachella for week 2. He's not going to return after he sustained 2 fractures and a sprain in his left leg. I think this was after a biking incident, and it says that, yeah, he suffered an injury to his leg on festival grounds in the week leading up to week 1, and he was unable to perform the intended show, but was still intent on performing, and then in 72 hours, the show just had to be reworked at a necessity, which really conflicts with some of the other evidence we'd heard from before, but still, I mean, I get it. And they say on doctor's advice, Frank is not able to perform to week 2 due to 2 fractures and a sprain in his left leg. And for the first weekend, he says it was chaotic and there's some beauty in chaos. It isn't what he intended to show, but he did enjoy being out there, and he says he will see us soon. So maybe there will be another concert soon enough that he just wants to make up to fans or something. And I guess this kind of confirms some of the stuff we'd heard last week, and a lot of the last minute set changes were because of this broken or hurt ankle, which is really interesting because he did actually perform before and he was like getting up and around and walking, but I guess it's either gotten worse or he didn't have good doctor's advice before and he didn't really know what to do. But either way, it's kind of disappointing to see because a lot of people did buy these weekend 2 tickets, especially for Frank, and they will definitely not get their money back just because it's like that's how it works. It's Coachella, but you know, it is what it is. And this really just adds to the disappointment of last week. Last week was a bad performance. I mean, I guess you can definitely explain some of those issues with the broken ankle, but I mean, now you have fans that really didn't get any communication. Even this came out through TMZ. This wasn't through Frank's main page. He didn't post anything on Instagram. He didn't post anything on Twitter. This came out through leaked news outlets and everything like that. And it just shows how bad Frank's communication is actually with his fans. Like, you know, as a fan myself, I saw the news on Instagram, but it wasn't through Frank. It was through some other outlet or other news page. And I think also he could have, you know, said something and be like, guys, I busted up my ankle before, and this is why the performance was a little bad, and I was just feeling the grief with my brother. But because Frank's communication is so bad, and I feel like that's just the main thing for me at least, you have to say something to your fans when you're, you know, dealing with something like this. You don't have to just have your team send out everything. You don't have to keep up the same persona of being this, you know, mysterious person, because there are some things that I feel like you should at least explain to your fans. And I mean, when he is saying the first one was chaos and there's some beauty in chaos, like at least just say that to your fans and, you know, try to apologize to them on your own account. Don't do it through TMZ or some other outlet, because it seems so much more fake when you're doing it through TMZ, where it's like you got all this stuff approved by all these managers and everything. I don't know. It's a super weird thing, and I just think it's such a bad way of, you know, throwing it out there. Frank is trying to do all this stuff just so he doesn't have another bad performance as well, I'd assume, which I totally get. And they are going to have Blink-182 fill in for him. And they had a nice, interesting performance last weekend. But I just think this is such a bad communication from Frank. And it really just shows how disconnected he is from his fans at this point. And besides just making his fans really angry, this is also really just setting up Blink-182 and Coachella for a lot more of a disaster. I mean, I feel like most of the part, especially during the YouTube, like a lot of the blame was put on Coachella for not telling anyone about it, but that was kind of all Frank's fault. And I feel like this is also, you know, really Frank's fault. A lot of people bought these tickets to see Frank. I mean, he hasn't performed in 6 years or something, and now we have Blink-182. And I mean, yeah, I know they're having a reunion now, but it's like Kid Cudi replaced Kanye, and people hated Kid Cudi because it just wasn't Kanye. They bought tickets to watch Kanye, and, you know, he got booed off stage, and Kanye still showed up to the same event. I don't know. It's such a weird thing. And it's like Frank did perform week 1. Is there any reason why he really couldn't have performed for week 2? You know, sitting down the whole time, just singing his songs in a boot. You know, people would understand it, especially after week 1 was so disappointing on its own. And, you know, as long as he had some communication with that, saying, oh, I had an ankle injury, I can't do anything, but I still want to perform for you guys. I'm just going to sit down, sing all my songs. I mean, that's kind of the whole reason you guys are all out here, to hear me singing. Like, I just feel like there's nothing that really, maybe I guess this is like a visual album, or like he wanted to do the ice rink thing to make it up to everyone for the second part of it. But at the same time, it's just like, bro, if you just have some more communication with your fans, everyone will understand and everyone will get it, but you don't. And I feel like, yeah, there might be some secrecy to try and, yeah, maybe this is a visual album. I know a lot of people said like there's stuff at LMU where that's where the ice skaters were from, and that's where he was working with Eric Roth, and that's where he like revealed it to everyone. But if this is what you were trying to do, and this is like the visual album part, like, at least maybe communicate to your fans a little bit about it. That's just kind of the only thing they want. And I just think a lot of this was kind of doomed from the start. If you hear, I'm just going to play a little clip from a podcast about the ice rink skaters. It seemed like they really weren't fully into it, and Frank wasn't fully into it, and they were all just kind of disconnected. And I just think it was kind of this disconnect between Frank and like what he was trying to do with this visual album, or whatever he was trying to do with the set, and Coachella and just everything else. And it just, I don't know, it didn't really work right. And I think he was trying to pull it off this weekend, and it's just so hard to pull it off when he's also having a broken ankle, and just he can't really do that much. And when he has this grand vision for it, I totally get why he pulls out, but at least tell everyone the reason why you're pulling out.
Not to shit on him, my two favorite things, Bri, one was just a cool moment. He goes, we were singing and we kept missing this one note, and he's talking. He's just such a musician, right? He's like, it's like this. It's like we're just saying but we're like we were too low. We're like,
it's pretty sweet.
And he's like, it's like go get it. And I'm like, okay, I'll go get it. And then he's conducting us, and we get to that part and we hit it. We go get it, and then he forgets to give the next cue, so we're all just holding. And then he goes, oh shit, my bad. I just got so fired up. You guys hit that note. I forgot to keep conducting. And I was like,
those are the times when he was like so chill.
And I was like, that was awesome. Yeah. And then two, I won't say what he said on the air, but he at the dress rehearsal got really mad because other people were fucking up and we were getting in trouble for being late, and not us, like the whole production was getting in trouble by Coachella because we had a cutoff and like it was too loud or whatever. And he had a hot mic on that he forgot. So we're all sitting there listening to him going off on some people. But it was so incredibly level-headed and respectful. Like everything he was saying was just the facts, why I'm frustrated. This is how I think it can be right. It wasn't you hear these stories of like throwing shit at people. And he was so cool, calm, and collected while expressing, I am furious about this, but please understand why, and let's help bridge this gap. And I was like, fuck.
Either way, though, I just think this whole Coachella mess with Frank Ocean was just super badly taken care of by both Frank, Coachella, and just everyone involved in the situation. And there's so many better ways to do this. And just overall, it turned out to be a complete mess. And Frank was forced to drop out of week 2 because it was such a big mess. And I just think it's probably a good idea for him to do that, but hopefully he can have his own concert where he can actually get his own ideas out and not have to do it due to Coachella's standards, and actually get something to, bring the fans back in, because I feel like he needs, better communication with the fans, and he needs a way to just bring the fans back in after this absolute fiasco here, where I feel like he turned off some of the fans, and some of the fans didn't like him, or, maybe don't like him as much because of this.